I beat The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past today, which was really, it basically was today because I beat it at like 1:30 in the morning. And I will say that that game made me quite mad. I'm not going to beat around the bush and say it is a great game, but you know, you have to take your lumps. So, you know, obviously if you just start up playing the game, most people will say, yeah, this is fun, this is addictive. That's the first 6, 7, or 8 dungeons, but when you get to Misery Mire and when you get to the Ice Palace and you're having to fight Cold Stare and get to them and all those different ones, Turtle Rock and Ganon's Tower, those are some of the nastiest ones. That's where they really stop pulling their punches. That's just to be said. I mean, actually, I was playing that game in the fall of 2015. You know, as interesting as this is, it did take me a full 6 months because I beat about 10 out of 12 of the game's dungeons that within the same month that I started, which shows how easy it is to enjoy it. That, you know, the light world stuff, perfectly enjoyable. Collecting rupees, collecting bottles, doing the side quests, getting the heart pieces, that's, you know, that's nothing to write home about in a bad way. But once it starts getting to the point, and this was the same problem I had with the first Zelda, the biggest thing is I could beat the game up until Dungeon 9, but then Dungeon 9 I had to backtrack 4 different times just because I needed rupees to get my health back because I'd lose it in the big dungeon. There must have been at least 30 rooms in the dungeon. So there was that to deal with in the first Zelda. I was able to beat that game. It's the only real problem I had was that last dungeon in the game. This one, it's not as bad, but Ganon did try my patience. So in A Link to the Past, that's the one you fight. You go to the Pyramid of Power. It would not have been that much of a problem had I not fallen into the pit that Ganon breaks when you start beating him. Because then if you fall into the pit, which I did 3 different times, you have to start the whole fight over. And it doesn't matter if you have full health or 1 heart, and you've used all your bottles, you're going to have to do it again. At that point, I just reset the game, but then I realized that I reset the game in the light world, and the dungeon was in the dark world, so that sort of stuff, you know, that's a good 15 minutes of your time wasted just trying to get back to where you were. So many different things. I mean, that if you were to follow me along when I played the game, you'd notice pretty quickly. But it's not so much a hatred as much as it is just like, it stretches your patience. It's not so much like hatred, want to punch a hole in the wall, but more of like, damn it, this is exhausting, the amount of tolerance I have type thing. That's exactly what the first Zelda did. So that's just, as long as you are a patient man or a patient woman, you should have no problem with it. They're not the hardest games on the block, in other words. But, you know, so I beat the original Legend of Zelda, I beat A Link to the Past, and I think the only other ones I would really attempt in the Zelda series would be the Game Boy ones. About 10 years ago, I tried to get as far as possible in Ocarina of Time, but then I watched the Let's Play of it, and I realized I'm going to have to do the Twin Rova fight, and then go through Ganon's castle, and then fight Ganon within a time limit and all those different things. I just don't know if I'm going to be willing to do it. And then, you know, I've watched the LP of Majora's Mask, and that one frightens me even further than Ocarina of Time does. I'm not afraid to admit it, you know, I'm not afraid to admit that video games kind of scare me away It's because I look at it in two instances. I look, how angry is this going to make me, and how long am I going to have to do it?